I wanted to talk a little bit about how I work as an astrologer so that if you are thinking about getting a reading from me, maybe you'll have a better idea of the type of astrologer that I am and if you would like to work with me or not. There are different types of astrologers, you know? Um, I don't expect to be able to help everyone. I don't really even have, that would be quite a burden, wouldn't it? So I only expect to help the people that I'm going to attract for whatever reason because I can help them. Sort of is the idea in Vedic astrology that you won't really read charts for people that you aren't meant to read the chart for, you know? And my clients, I've found that to be true in my experience. So I don't really worry too much about if someone's going to get a reading from me or not. And actually, a lot of times people will ask me, like, how do you feel? Like, is now a good time to get a reading? What do you think? And that's like, I mean, I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I don't have an opinion. If it's you, it's your life. Like, if you need to know the answer, ask me and then we'll do it, you know? Or if you just have like a strong inspiration to know, then do it or whatever. But, that's up to you. You're going to know. Most of the time, I think it works the best when people just innately want to know. They're just like, I'm curious. I think this would be cool. I'm at a good place in my life. I want to get a reading and find out like what more about myself. Or people are just kind of like curious to learn more about themselves. That really works. And then also, if someone's just in a really, really tough situation and is like urgent and has tried everything, then go to your astrologer. That's another good time. So how do I work? I guess the main thing that I think I kind of, if I was to critique myself, I don't, I have a really hard time with all of the actual like business side of the astrology. And when it actually comes to doing the readings, I feel pretty good about that, and I usually get really good feedback. It's actually really surprising how much, or yeah, that surprises me because really astrology is a crazy thing. What we're doing here. I mean, to be able to look at a chart and tell a total stranger pretty important, major, objective facts about their life that aren't vague or wishy-washy and can't be denied. You're taller than your brother, or you're shorter, or you have an older brother, or an older sister, or whatever, or just very objective things. You got an accident this year, not that year, in a car accident or something. Um, that all can really be done, and I'm definitely the type of astrologer that is a very objective, focused astrologer. So I'm not the type of astrologer who says we can't predict things. There are a lot of astrologers who just say you can't predict the future. That's crazy. Well, experience has kind of taught me otherwise. I'm not saying I can. I'm just saying that life does allow us to know these things. And sometimes if you want to know and you have the merit to know, you can know. Um, so yeah, I do predictions and stuff. I'm not fatalistic though. The way I work about it, the way I work with it is the general yogic teaching that I was taught through sort of the Kriya Yoga tradition of Mahavatar Babaji and Yogananda, Paramahansa Yogananda, brought to America. They told us that about three-fourths of your chart or your karma is is pretty unavoidable, is really pretty set in stone, and your own soul wanted to experience it when you incarnated. But then a one-fourth is up to your own free will to change or alter as you may see fit, or create worse karma if you're not trying in this life. But then that extra 25% is up to your free will always, So you have 75% that is kind of going as the chart's going, but that 25% of your life is your free will to work on your karma and to work it out, to make better karma, to learn these lessons. But if you use all of that 25%, if you use all of your free will at all the time, you can actually change it all. And people have different opinions as to why this is. Some people say it's because of the five elements, um, because whatever element you change with that willpower, every element connects to three others, so it can cause a change that way. Um, I don't really know why. There's this idea that when you do something, every time you do something good for yourself, God does three things. I don't really know if that's true or not, though. But it does seem like this is true from my experience overall. And in general, someone who's really been working on themselves, working on their life, maybe as a spiritual person, or is just a person who is really dead set on self-improvement in this life, that person will squash a lot more of the negative karma of their chart than someone who doesn't ever really go out of their way to be like that. So people who are just kind of unconsciously swimming through life, their chart really does read like a book. Um, it's pretty surprising. So that's sort of how I approach the whole fate and free will stuff. So you don't have to be, I hope that doesn't scare you because I'm not fatalistic, but at the same time, I'm not saying it's easy to overcome anything either. It's really hard. It's a lot harder than we think typically too. Our karma in general is deeper than we think it is in my experience. Because we really don't know how deep it is. That's kind of the whole point. Is if we were enlightened, we would know all of this. We would know ourselves, but you don't know what you don't know. You know what I mean? And so uh, even an astrologer like myself can't really tell you how deep your karma is. We can just help you with it, point you in the right direction. But some things we can't know everything. That's actually really important to say as an astrologer. I'm not the type of astrologer that that tries to make you think that I can know everything. No, 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 no. It's really hard work too. Um, I'm a very research-based astrologer, even though I do have very good intuition and I feel like I am kind of psychic a lot of the time. Still, we have to do research and we have to test things out. We have to have an objective framework for our intuition to work better from. So that's why research and testing things out is super important. When it comes to that, I am one of those crazy Vedic astrologers that uses the tropical zodiac, okay? And it's not because I want to just give everyone a hard time. It's because I had to break down and admit that it really works better. It works dramatically better with Vedic techniques, not with Western techniques. I'm talking about with the actual reading Brihat Parashara, Horashastra, and all this stuff and taking it verbatim. It will work better with the tropical zodiac in my experience. Dignity, Lajitati Avashtas, all these things, Vargas, particularly dignity will be a lot more profoundly insightful for you. But dignity is one of the main fulcrums of all of astrology. So if you are going to give me a hard time about my chart and how your chart, oh, but I calculate it this way, but what about this and that, then don't get a reading from me. I don't want to deal with all that. And really, if you know your chart so well, if you know so much about astrology, why are you hiring me to begin with? I mean, shouldn't you just know the answer to your question if you know so much? But that's just kind of the attitude that I get. I'm just saying that that's kind of attitude that comes up every now and then. Um, and so I don't want to go into all that. You know what I mean? So come to me with the reading, but don't really try to debate with me about calculations. I don't care about that, okay? And honestly, if just a heron flies by or something, or a hawk shows up, or an animal gives me the message, then I'll use that. So I won't even cast the chart if I don't have to. I mean, astrology is about being pragmatic and practical. We use omens, we use breath, we use a lot of things in prajna that aren't just the planets and calculations as well. But just get the answer. That's the point. So don't worry about what it takes for an astrologer to get the answer. If he's just in the back room cracking a chicken bone, if that works for him and he has a good success rate, then don't question it. You know, just crack away on those chicken bones or whatever it is. Um, then, of course, I do use sidereal nakshatras, of course. So I keep the nakshatras sidereal as I think they should be. When it comes to my health readings, I use a lot of Ayurvedic principles, but I'm not a formally, officially trained Ayurvedic person. But as a Kriya yogi and someone who's tried to self-heal themselves a lot and self-diagnose, which I have done successfully, which I'm not trying to brag about, a lot of people can. That's what's great about Ayurveda is it can teach you to do this stuff on your own. Same with Chinese medicine. So stay a little bit of that. I incorporate that into my health readings, as well as just overall yogic principles. Um, and naturopathic principles, of course, as well, and all kinds of just new science that's coming out too. I'm of course, always open to learning from all sources that as long as it makes sense and is logical. Um, and then the main systems that I use in terms of schools, there's a lot of different things. Uh, Naughty, Gemini, this or that. I use Gemini a lot, predominantly. Parashara and Gemini are probably the two main systems that I use, as I learned from Ernst Wilhelm. So I use a lot of his systems and everything. I don't follow everything verbatim. There are some things that I disagree with, but in general, yes, that's the main format I follow. And then also, I'm really into Prajna, horary astrology. So I use a lot of Tajika Prajna, or the Prajna of Nilakanta or the B.V. Raman Prajna Tantra text, like the stuff that comes from this book. That's that's good stuff. And then, of course, with the omens, I like to use a lot. I use Varahamihira's books, the Brihat Samhita and stuff, but I also use a lot of Native American stuff because that's where I live in America. And I use the omens of the natural animals around here because obviously there are a lot here that aren't in India. And you know what I mean? In India, a cobra might mean something. Well, I don't have cobras here. But might have cardinals, which y'all don't have, So which y'all don't have. I don't mean y'all. I mean which India doesn't have. So I use a lot of Native American medicine, like the animal medicine that they'll talk about, and then I use the omens of Varahamihira, and then other things that I've learned. A fun little tidbit about that is that actually here where I live, there's a big lake, and one of Varahamihira's omens for rain, he says if frogs are singing at sunset or sunrise at the twilight times, then you're going to get rain. And that's very, very true, I found. When the frogs are all singing and croaking and making their noise, at sunset when I'm going, or at sunrise when I'm going to bed or waking up, then it will rain on those days most of the time, I found. So it's kind of a fun little example of how omens can still work nowadays. Okay, so hopefully this gives you just a better idea of how I am as an astrologer. Oh, and I take longer than most people. So that's really just something that I take my time with this stuff, and I'm just really, the way my karma is, I'm just really more focused on getting you the right answer than anything else, or getting it to you at the right time, or write back tomorrow. So I don't write back on emails very well. I'm not good at that, and I'm not good at, or I just don't turn them around as quickly as other people. But that's just how I work. So if you can be patient, you'll get a great reading most likely, but just, you have to hang in there a little bit. Maybe just more than others, I would say. And I'm just the type of astrologer that if my mind isn't right one day, I'll just maybe wait for the next day to work on a chart for something really important, because I don't know. That's not me being lazy. It's just me. I really care, and I really never want to be wrong, and I want to do the right job and have the best integrity I can. So I'd rather just wait a little longer to make sure, because this is not the type of work that, in my opinion, I can just crank out on an industry line. You know what I mean? My mind can only do so much of this every day. So anyways, that is one of my biggest downsides, is that I would say about myself, is that I don't write back to emails quick enough often, or things like that. Or I might just take a little bit longer. If I tell you it'll take 3 weeks, it might take 4 weeks. I'm sorry, but that's just where I'm at with my karma and things. There are a lot of delays. I mean, at least as the time of this video, in May 2017. But I do my best, and I really try hard. So if you're thinking about getting a reading, give it a shot. But if not, that's okay too, because like I said, I'm really just going to read for who I'm meant to read for at the end of the day. Okay, thanks y'all. Take care.